great man, the great fight. Itauma, it's future for boxing. I like this guy.
He says he's ready for you now at 20 years old.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely not. If you put Moses Itauma in there with Oleksandr Usyk, he's gonna get destroyed. And I don't mean probably. I mean definitely.
If I tell you I'm good, probably you will say I'm boasting. But if I tell you I'm no good, you know one line.
Yo, what's good, Boxing Talk family? Welcome back to your favorite boxing news channel, Dr. Boxing Talker. We are back for another YouTube video. Banger, man. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I don't know what time it is. Doctor's in the house, so check this out. But before we do, let's go ahead and smack that like button. Let's do it together. Appreciate you. That helps us to keep going and growing. So check this out. Today, or earlier today, I saw it. I don't know when the actual interview took place, but I saw it today. I know it didn't. I know it's not too old. I know it's fairly recent. It's either yesterday or today it happened. But Sergey Lapin was actually being interviewed by Box Nation, right?
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that? You know damn well who I am. Who the fuck is that?
And those of you unfamiliar with Sergey Lapin, he was a former fighter. You know, he didn't really have too much of a professional career. I think he only had like one fight, but he had quite a few amateur fights. But, you know, after that, he turned into a manager, and he's currently Oleksandr Usyk's manager. And also, he's the older brother of Daniel Lapin, the guy that was a beneficiary of a robbery against Louis Ebison, you know, because Louis Ebison won that fight, in my personal opinion. But it is what it is. He got the victory shot to him. But anyway, he was being interviewed by Box Nation, and he called up none other than one of the top 3 pound for pound kings, and Oleksandr Usyk. And Oleksandr Usyk was asked a hot question that's being asked right now. Is Moses Itauma the future of the heavyweight division? Is he ready for Oleksandr Usyk? And he responded and said this.
I think Itauma, it's future for boxing.
He says he's ready for you now at 20 years old.
Yeah, definitely.
And he said, yeah, definitely he's ready. Now, I want to say this, though. You know, you could tell he's saying with a smile on his face. And I think he was just more so encouraging the young brother. I think he was, you know, applauding him and being very supportive of Moses Itauma's heavyweight boxing endeavors, you know. So I don't really think he took this to heart. I think we should take this with a grain of salt. But he did say that, hey, man, he might be ready for me. You know, he said he's definitely ready for me. And I think he's definitively not ready for Oleksandr Usyk. Like I said, I think he was more so bestowing compliments and speaking tongue in cheek, as he's not really known to be condescending towards anybody. So I think he's just saying, yeah, man, he's ready. He's the future of the heavyweight division, and he's ready for anything. But I think he was just more so just being encouraging, as opposed to saying, oh yeah, I want to fight him next. Because if he wants to fight Moses Itauma next, I think that fight happens. I think that fight happens because I think that it'll be a situation where it's like on a lesser scale from a popularity and revenue generation standpoint. But I think it'll be similar to what Floyd Mayweather and Canelo did. You know, when it was a young Canelo, it's like, hey, I don't really have much to lose. You know, I might be undefeated right now. I could lose my O, but I'm going in there against an all-time great to where I could gain this experience and it'll be invaluable for me in the future, you know. And Canelo has turned that L into a great career, you know what I'm saying? He even says that he learned a lot from sharing the ring with Floyd Mayweather. So maybe this could be a similar thing, you know, with Moses Itauma and Oleksandr Usyk. If you're his handlers, you'd be like, hey, man, the risk is less than the reward. The reward is much greater because if you win, boom, you are the de facto man in the heavyweight division, maybe in all of boxing. But if you lose, it's like, okay, you can still learn from it. However, I want to caution people with the latter, right? I want to caution you because sometimes people take L's and they don't bounce back. Sometimes they take L's, whether it's by stoppage or by a decision. No matter what it is, it might change their psyche. Most recently, we saw what happened with Tim Tszyu. He lost a close decision to Sebastian Fundora, even though he was impaired, his vision was impaired, and he had suffered a lot of blood loss due to the cut on his head. And he didn't bounce back. His next fight, he got obliterated by Bakram. And then, not to mention, you go back a little further in history, Austin No Doubt Trout. He lost to Canelo, right? And then he went and he fought Erislandy Lara. I don't even know why you would fight Canelo and Erislandy Lara back to back like that, but his handlers did that, and he took 2 L's back to back. And you know, we didn't really hear from him. He didn't really bounce back since. You know, we didn't really hear from him. I mean, I heard from him because I know he's in the BKFC, right? So I keep up with boxing and stuff like that. But as far as he was never the same in the boxing realm, you know, just because sometimes taking L's can shift your career for the worse. You can learn from it, but it's rare that you learn from it and have a successful career in boxing like a Cinnamon, you know what I'm saying, like Canelo Alvarez, who's the face of boxing. You know, that's a rarity. It's more common that when you take an L, you tend to fall off the map. And like I said, I'm not saying that's what will happen with Moses Itauma, but I think that, you know, with him being 20 years old, him being young, you know, that's a good thing. And you just take him on progressively, you know, like maybe he could fight like a Filip Hrgovic. Maybe he could fight like, I don't know, the winner of Dave Allen and Arslanbek Makhmadov. Maybe he could fight like Efe Jagba or somebody like that, you know, or Guido Vianello or somebody like that, you know, Jared Anderson, Richard Torres. I could go on, but I don't think he should fight Oleksandr Usyk. You know, I think you should stay away from Oleksandr Usyk right now. I think you should stay away from Daniel Dubois, even Martin Bakole. We saw what happened to Jerry Big Baby Anderson. I think Moses Itauma is better than Big Baby Anderson, but you still, like, I think right now where he's currently at, was he 12-0, 13-0? I think maybe in like 3 more fights, then he could fight like a Bakole, Joseph Parker, who else? Ajit Kabayel, somebody like that. You know, I think it's better for the longevity of these fighters' careers, because that's not just, let me be very clear, it's not just with the boxing landscape that's fragile, you know, but also the fan base. We're very fragile. It's like sometimes I feel like we as a whole, not speaking on me individually or you individually, but boxing as a whole, it's like we're waiting for somebody to take an L so we could just throw them away.
Know your fucking place, trash.
You know what I'm saying? Just toss them in the trash or just throw them out the house. And it's crazy to me, you know. Of course we want winners, but there's a lot of fighters that don't win all their fights, but they're very exciting for me. But I know I'm a boxing addict, you know, I'm a boxing fiend, a pugilist enthusiast. So I know everybody doesn't like boxing as much as I do, but we tend to throw fighters away. But at the same time, we want to throw fighters prematurely into the fire and see if they're gonna get burned, or throw them into the water, see if they're gonna sink or swim. But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, we could do that, but then we have to have patience with them regardless of the result. You know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't heard from Charles Conwell since, and he lost a close decision to Jorge Garcia Perez. You know, we don't even know when we're going to see Charles Conwell. You know, that was a split decision loss, or it was a decision loss. I believe it was a split decision. So there's countless examples of fighters taking their first L and then they essentially fall off the map, or they take another L shortly thereafter. So I think the risk, in my personal opinion, on one hand, you could say the risk, the reward outweighs the risk, because it's a young guy. If he loses to a great in Oleksandr Usyk, nobody will hold it against him. But then on the other hand, you could kind of say the risk outweighs the reward, because you never know, the trajectory of your career might change. You know, it might go from going up, upwards trajectory, to a going down. You know what I'm saying? A major exponential decline. So I don't think it's worth the risk. I think we should just allow Moses Itauma to progress, you know, progressively, you know, say let his career just progress in a normal fashion. And I will say this though, I made a video about this. I don't think Jermaine Franklin is the right guy, because the optics just look bad. You know, I'm not saying Jermaine Franklin is a bad fighter, but I think that when you beat somebody like Dillian Whyte, even though Dillian Whyte's not the same, right? You beat him in 1 round, you can't turn around and fight a guy that lost to a guy that you beat in 1 round, because Dillian Whyte, whether you agree with it or not, Dillian Whyte beat Jermaine Franklin. And so if you knock out Dillian Whyte, the guy who beat Jermaine Franklin in 1 round, then I think it looks kind of crazy that you turn around and fight Jermaine Franklin, in my personal opinion. So, but there's other serviceable heavyweights that will give you rounds, you know, that you could target. So I just think Oleksandr Usyk was more so complimenting the young man Moses Itauma, more so than acknowledging the call out. I just think, once again, we got to remember that a lot of these guys and girls are acting in the capacity of the interviewee. They can't help what the interviewer asked them. So he was just responding to the question. That's all, man. I think it was a very dope response, to be honest. And then also too, Jermaine Franklin does have a fight coming up against dang, what's his name? Ivan Daichko. So that should be a good fight, man. I'm looking forward to that. We'll see. That's a tough fight, man. We'll see if Jermaine Franklin could actually beat Ivan. We'll see, man. But yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think about that. Don't forget to smack that like button. But most importantly, remember, with God, we can do anything. Without God, we're nothing. The doctor's out. Peace. From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.